Hello all, the Irrational Skeptic here, and today I'm going to be doing a video titled The Tertiary Function, aka Child. This is part of the MBTI Decoded series, and let's get right into it. So in this video, I'm going to be going into what the tertiary function is in terms of cognitive functions. The reason I have started to make more videos that analyze each function on their own is because each archetype has a storehouse of information to teach us about ourselves and the world around us. We have to understand that the goal of learning about type is to direct yourself towards individuation. That is, you're supposed to, at final, be able to stand apart from all these attitudes and not approach life in a way that puts one against the other. Differentiation is when all the functions are in their own right realities which do not hold one as more important, quote unquote, than the other. But we must understand that in order to act in society, a certain order of hierarchies are needed. Without this system, there can be no order. It is not even necessarily a human thing. It is a law of the universe itself. It is a law of physics. It is a law of biology. It is a law of chemistry. For systems to work, they must become stable and play certain roles consistently. Just like when you are born, you are a child and cannot fend for yourself. There comes a time where you learn enough about the world to act in society, but still you might not have higher cognitive abilities to make rational decisions, let's say about where to live, what to do for work, how to survive in a way that is compromising with other adults in the world. So, when you finally become an adult and individual in society, you put away childish things. But at the time, we still remember many times when we were in these stages of life that we genuinely enjoyed. This is a good segue into the tertiary function. Taking us back in time, the tertiary function is a representative of our inner child. It is the version of us when we didn't take things too seriously. This function's archetype is the same thing. It has a lot of freedom because it treats everything in this category as novelty. It doesn't tie onto the idea that it needs to be the master. At the same time, this archetype really wants to get better. It wants to impress the good parent function as seen in Dr. Beebe's archetypal model. And the good parent function for each type is the auxiliary function, or as I mentioned in a previous video, this function is spontaneous. What do most children do? At least good ones. They try to impress their parents. They try to behave in a way that gains the approval of mom or dad, or mom and dad. It is the exact same case in this scenario. The tertiary function is first of all protected by the auxiliary function. Secondly, the child function tries to appease the parent. I'll give a few examples to expand on this idea, or a couple of examples. Example 1, INFJ. The INFJ is the type that has introverted intuition as their dominant function, extroverted feeling as their auxiliary function, introverted thinking as their tertiary function, and extroverted sensing as their inferior function. This type has the tertiary of TI. You will usually find that the INFJ is easily able to understand logical deduction, although they are not the best at maintaining logical consistency when writing or speaking. For example, they may not take care to ensure that not only does their sentence make sense, but the sentence within the paragraph, and the paragraphs within the essay, and the essay within the context of whatever they are speaking of. It is very likely that they may get lost in the weeds and just be happy making syllogisms regardless of their validity or soundness. This is the area where a type like the INTP or ISTP would continually correct them. But just like how kids usually are, criticism in this area may hurt, and they might become self-defensive. And this is where usually the auxiliary function comes to save the day. An example of this is if the tertiary introverted thinking function in the type says, hey, it makes sense that the president would be mean to everyone. People are mean to each other, and so he's just doing what everyone does, right? I mean, it kind of does make sense. Well, the INTP in this case would see clearly that the INFJ is not taking into account what the role of a president is. You can't just say president is mean, people are mean, therefore it is right that the president should be mean. We are jumping around very complicated issues. Of course, if an INFJ said something like this, it wouldn't be because they are trying to prove the point they made exactly. They likely said it because of some introverted intuitive perception that this needed to be said to have some sort of effect upon the archetypal landscape or the unconscious. Example 2. The ESTP has extroverted feeling as their tertiary function. This means that they will like to play around a lot. You can find them laughing a lot and making jokes. But when something happens that crosses a certain boundary of power, they will usually have to interrupt this process with cold, introverted thinking. An example is that the ESTP is playing basketball with a friend one-on-one. They may be competing, but at the same time be aware of the rules of the game. If they find that you say to them, "You suck, man, you're horrible at this game, I'm beating you so much," or at least if there's some pretty ladies around watching the game, they will resort to saying things using the parent function of introverted thinking by saying something like, "You're not even playing fair. You did like 10 double bounces and 4 fouls in the last 10 minutes. Technically, you should have 20 less points, and I would actually be winning." Their extroverted feeling, on the other hand, likes to be sarcastic and is just used to get people to like them on a superficial level. They realize that when people don't like you, they treat you badly. It is also easier for them to manipulate the physical world if they first have material that is homogeneous or acting in harmony. In one of my other videos, I spoke about the ENFP wanting something similar in order to manipulate their ideas. In the case of the ESTP, they will be more easily able to exert pressure if they keep things at a level that doesn't get too heated. By them smiling, they can continually, or they can eventually deal you a blow without having to force you with their usual method of high-pressure extroverted sensing. These examples are supposed to show how the tertiary function is something we genuinely like. It is the fun child in us that allows us to play after working all day. Just like how I got out of work right now and I'm making this video. This function shows in myself as I make this video. I like to write a lot and answer a lot of questions on the website Quora. This allows me to exercise my introverted thinking in a healthy manner. without having to go around being sarcastic to others in order to express this inner child. This function is also one that agrees pretty well with the dominant function. In terms of the axes of the functions, remaining in introverted mode is always preferable to an individual with dominant introversion. So, the inner child and the hero like to play a lot together. Go figure. Of course, when things go too far or get too one-sided, the parent has to step out to cool things down. In the example of the INFJ, even when noticing logical inconsistency in the environment, rather than call it out, they will more easily laugh it off and try to create a festive air about them. It is their way of saying to the child, "Don't worry, I will protect you." And this doesn't only apply to the child in themselves. They see the child everywhere where there is introverted thinking. They see the INTP as a child or their inner child. So this is just to give you a brief idea of how the archetypes work in oneself. And I will be ending this video here. If you have any comments or questions, you can leave it down below. I will be making more videos soon that go deeper into the archetypes and how they are ordered in the psyche. I do want to get into the collective unconscious and explain these in a way that are easily digestible. Like I always say, if you have any suggestions on videos that you would like me to make, leave the comments down below. And if you'd like to donate to keep this channel running, I have a PayPal link in the description. You can donate anything. Anything is accepted. Any amount would be helpful because it does take me some time to make these videos. It does take me time to gather the material that I need, to read up on cognitive functions and give myself a better understanding. Although I do enjoy doing this, I just would really appreciate it, or not even appreciate it. It helps me to keep this thing going, and it would certainly motivate me to make better videos and to make videos maybe that have a little bit more entertainment in them. Right now I just try to dish out the information as best I could, but I'll stop it there. Thank you all for listening. The Irrational Skeptic signing off.